Here we go. All right. All right. The Newcastle Breaking News is here with another mayoral candidate, Jamie Holmes. Jamie Holmes, what's going on?
Hey, not too much, man. Just living the life. You know how it is.
Man, thanks for meeting with me. I know it's short notice. We're going to try and get her, thank you so much for working around your schedule. I know you're busy. So you were telling me right before we went live, you've got a really busy agenda. Like you've got a really busy day.
I can't sit still. I have to be being productive. I'm going to tell you one thing real quick. One of the main reasons I've stayed moving and productive my life is because me and my wife together, we have 9 children. Yeah, I got 7 boys, 2 girls. I got a set of twin boys. I wanted to be a positive impact on their life. I wanted to show them that hard work pays off. So that's why I continue work all the time, and I still have time for my family. I juggle a lot, but I make time for everybody.
9 children is like a small city.
That's a little. Some people say that's not a family, that's a gang.
Yeah. So the sheer logistics of working with 9 kids is. I don't have 1 kid. I have a dog, and it's a lot of work for me. I have a dog. I had 2 plants. I have 1 now, and it's a lot of work. I can't keep. I had a cat, but I can't keep up with it. What do you? You can definitely. I mean, that's nonstop all day, and then the bounty hunting too, huh?
That's a whole different topic. I'm gonna tell you what, man. I've been doing that since 1996, and I'm with a company called Cook Denome Bail Bonds out of Newcastle. They've been in business for over 50 years, and they pretty much have the run of the city in as far as bonding companies, and yeah, it keeps me pretty busy.
I used to do collections for bail bonding. Which was that's a tough business. I mean, you get into some serious, there's companies on the books at, $200,000-$300,000 in debt, no problem. How much of that is collectible is a different story, but right. So, all right. So let's get into the questions. Everybody knows here at Newcastle Breaking News, we ask 5 very roundabout questions that never, we usually spend a lot of time getting through a few of them, but I've got one very special question for you, Jamie Holmes. And I think everybody wants to know the most important thing here. How much can you bench?
Well, honestly, I haven't lifted in years. Mm-hmm. It's been a long time since I've been in a serious lifting program. Years ago, I was about 225 pounds, 12% body fat, and I'm only 5'8". So back then,
that's strong for the people that don't know anything about lifting. That's very strong.
Yeah. So yeah. I'm saying that was my weight. I was 225 pounds, my weight, and at the time back then I was benching 450 pounds back then. Now you're talking about my twins were 2 years old at the time. They're 24 right now. So I haven't lifted in a long time, really got into it. I keep planning on it, but I'm just doing too much stuff right now.
One of a personal trainer friend of mine told me the best thing. He said, it's like brushing your teeth after a certain point. At first it's like a big event, you're excited to go. After a while, it's just brushing your teeth. That's one of the other things you do. Yeah. So I saw you, and the reason why I asked that is I saw one of the pictures of you on I was creeping your Facebook profile to get some intel, and I saw one of the pictures of you, and you're in the traditional garb of a preacher, and the arm on that thing, I can't even. I'm off camera. I can't even. It was like this, and I'm thinking, who's making these robes? He's filling out this.
My mother finds them. I don't know where she finds them at, but she finds them.
So preaching, that's something very near and dear to you, huh?
Yes, sir. I have I've been preaching for a long time since I was a child. I am the pastor of St. Peter's Missionary Baptist Church in Youngstown. Now I have another brother, Sam, who's my oldest brother. He pastors another church in Youngstown. my brother Dion, who just recently passed away.
Oh my God, I'm sorry to hear that.
Thank you, I appreciate it. One of the most phenomenal people you will ever meet in your life. He had MS. He was in a wheelchair for the last 6 years, and I have never seen this guy without a smile on his face. So he encourages me. Even think about his memories. He just encourages me so much. Like you want to talk about a brainiac? This guy, he has a library, a spiritual library inside his home. And whenever we would want something, we call him. And I said, "Hey, Rev." He said, "What's up, Rev?" I said, "I need to know this." He said, "Well, come on over." And he would tell me, but then he wouldn't find it for me. He would tell me, "Now take this book and look in here. Now you go take it and study it."
Yeah, so, that's good. That's good. That's self-discovery.
I got another brother, Darrell, who was his assistant pastor, who's actually running his church right now. And I have an uncle over in Youngstown who's a pastor. Now, my father, he's an assistant pastor over here in Newcastle, but we was preaching before him.
So you're a generation of preachers or people that speak the gospel, huh? Generation.
Yes, very spiritual, very spiritual.
Spiritual leader. That's the word I was looking for.
Yes.
Yeah. So the start of the 5 questions. By the way, guys, if you wanna ask, if we've got time, we'll get into Jamie Holmes' questions, or if you want to get into it, we can bring your questions up on the screen and ask him in real time. All you have to do is you have to go to our Facebook group to do it. Last time there was some complications or some problems where people weren't being able to do that. And that's why you have to go to facebook.com/group/Newcastle Breaking News, the breaking news page. So make sure you are doing that. We've got people standing by right now to approve your membership. So if you do want to come in and ask questions, you've got to do that. So Jamie Holmes, so now you've got a lot going on. That correlates to being a mayor. So what do you think? What does a mayor do, in your own words?
Well, typically, the mayor, he runs the city, the day-to-day administration and work with the legislation body to enact the laws. And then he also, they preside over city council meetings, provide leadership, and they receive input. And this is what they're supposed to do, is receive input from the constituents. And then they make business decisions that's best for the city.
Input from the constituents. How do you feel that's been going on recently?
No. And the reason why I don't is because I don't believe that they don't have an open ear. They don't listen. I tell everybody like this: I'm not a politician. I'm a resident. I don't have political views. I have residential views. The city and where we live, it used to be a great place. It was a great place to live when I was growing up. When I was young, it was about 50,000 strong. It's about half that now.
Right.
There was jobs everywhere. There's nothing near here now. So there's some people out here in our city with great ideas that could generally help the city. I've been to city council meetings. I hear people down there and they talk and they give their opinion. But my thing is anyone actually listening to them? And you don't have to answer that question if you just look around the city, because a lot of people had good ideas and you don't see none of those ideas being exercised inside our city.
What are some of the good ideas that you've seen kind of fall through the cracks recently, or just in general?
Well, there was, for one, there was a young lady, and I don't want to mention her name because I don't know if she wanted her name meant, but she had an idea for, it was excuse me, it was for a building she was trying to get for a group that she wanted to work with our teens, and she created things for the teens to do. They even said themselves, "Wow, that's a great idea."
They being council members, mayor.
The council members, they said, "This is a great idea." They ended up giving the building to somebody else, but then guess what? You heard nothing else about it. So if it's that much of a great idea, Why aren't you acting on it to help this lady to do what she needs to do? There's more buildings in Newcastle.
Oh,
there's a lot of
so I
buildings
hear.
that's
So I
vacant.
hear.
Yes, there's a lot that's vacant. That, I mean, help her find a building, a structure, so she can try to do what she can do. Because if you heard her talk and some of the points that I can't remember all the points that she brought up, the lady was phenomenal in her presentation to the city, and they don't they're not acting on it, and I don't understand why.
Okay. All right. Well, if you're that lady, let's reach out to the breaking news. Maybe we'll get you some attention. Okay. So very interesting statement there. That was a very unique one. Generally speaking, a lot of people say, what they do from day to day, but you brought up a very good point, and that's take advice from the constituents, or be a sort of quarterback for the constituents. And it sounds to me like you feel that that's something that's being a loss. So I hope that, when you are mayor, that when that happens, you definitely do that. You definitely heed that advice. And we've offered, by the way, every single candidate to come back on our show maybe once a month or something, to just, hear out. We extrapolate data from what people are saying from our surveys all the time. So those are great indicators of who we are as people and what we want. And so we'll continue to do those things, and we'll continue to provide whoever is mayor with that information from us, from our community, from the breaking news community. So that said, what do you think? So that's one thing I'm asking you to do during your day, but what do you think really, what do you think your day is going to look like?
Generally, the mayor is kind of like the same position that I have at the church. I go into the church and I go over business. He goes over the city business, and the mayor, for one thing, he cannot do everything alone. He has to delegate power. So in order for him to cover all the bases, they have the different offices that's inside the mayor's office. That's each one has a specific job that they're supposed to do. If that person's not performing their job to the best of their ability, it's up to the mayor to call that person in and set them down and say, listen, you're not doing this like you're supposed to, best of your ability. That's what you're hired for. Let's get busy. So as a mayor, you have to micromanage. And I'm not just talking about inside the city building. I'm talking about every employee that works for the city. You cannot afford to have, for instance, I'm just using something, and I'm not talking about the city employees. I'm talking about the water company. And it's a long ongoing thing where people joke about it. They say, you got 5 guys working for the water company and only 1 guy's in the hole and everybody else standing around. You can't afford in this city to have that happen, because for one thing, it doesn't look bad on those guys. It looks bad on the mayor.
What water company? That's part of Public Works.
No, that ain't even part of the city at all.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. That's I'm just using that for an example. That's something that people said all over the gas company or the water company. They say, you got 5 people working, only 1 person's in the hole.
Yeah, and so I understand your analogy.
But at the same time, I'm not a person who likes to just sit inside. If we're in a city small as we are, everybody knows everybody. The majority of the people, if you go around town right now and ask the mayor's name, they don't know what his name is. They have no clue what the mayor's name is. There's no reason why everybody should not know the mayor's name. If you're out in the city, and I'm one of them people, I got to be out and about. I'm talking to people. And I ain't talking about just driving past them. I'm talking about getting out. I go anywhere and I'll sit down and just talk to people. And it doesn't matter what age they are. And I have conversations with them. And I do this all the time. Sure. And that's what I still want to do as the mayor, be able to go. One of the questions somebody asked me, and I was driving through Grand Street projects, and one of the gentlemen came up to me. He said, hey, let me ask you this. When you win for mayor, are you still going to come down here? I said, why not? Why wouldn't I?
Yeah, of course.
He said, nobody else has.
Yeah.
So we got to be hands-on. Listen, I would never want nobody who works at the mayor's office to be willing to do something that I won't do myself. I got to be out there in the public as well. not only at the desk, sitting at a desk and behind the four walls, we got to be out there in the streets.
Yeah. And let's bring that up. You've got those people that want to see you in the streets need to vote. They've got to make it out to vote for you. And ultimately, we are going to do a sort of Google document. Everybody, you're going to have a form you'll be able to fill out with who you are, where you live, if you know what precinct or ward you live in, and what client or what candidate you want to come pick you up. We're going to do that. We're going to make sure we facilitate that for you too. So we'll send you a list probably within the next couple of weeks. We'll start giving you access to a list where you'll be able to pick those people up and facilitate rides for them. But they have to reach out. You have to reach out to Jamie Holmes if you want to do that. And now, speaking of people and the community, you won our semi sort of straw poll. I don't know if you paid attention to that. But
a couple people brought it to my attention.
Okay, good. So what that means essentially is the breaking news, whatever compilation of viewers that we have or people that are coming on, they definitely support you. What I'm saying is that there's some people out there that newspaper people, people that don't use Facebook and things like that. Our community, our particular Facebook community supports you. And so that's a really interesting dynamic. You're in the lead by droves, I think by double. How do you plan on converting that popularity in the community how do you plan on pitting that up with people that are, basically guaranteed to vote for someone else?
Encouragement. You have to encourage people.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get encouraged. Listen, right now, you have people all the time talking about they want change, but they're not doing nothing to make the change. You have to encourage them. Listen, in order to make change, don't come later on talking about complaining if you're not going to go out and vote. Not only is the people unregistered not voting, but there's a lot of people who are registered. Why are you going to register if you're going to vote? I mean, so I literally the voting link that I had posted on your site.
You did. Thank you.
I have been running that link probably about 3 months, and a lot of people who have reached out to me that they actually got registered on that link.
That's
so
awesome.
we gotta promote. You got to be kind of like Don King without the hair. we got to be in a promotion business. But listen, they called him a crook and everything else, but he was one of the best in the business because he knew what he was doing at his job. He was the best at promoting, man. He got out there. He made people open their eyes. He showed them a better way as far as what you want to see, entertainment purposes. Well, guess what? This is not for entertainment. This is life. So we got to promote for life. We got to try to get people to come out and vote because they want to better their life. My kids are growing up here. I got grandkids that's going to be growing up here. I don't just want to make the city better just right now, not just tomorrow. I want the city to be better in the future also. So we cannot devise a plan that's going to be good just for the next 4 years. We can't devise a plan that's going to be good just for the next 8 years. We have to have something etched in stone that's going to be good from now on, that's going to benefit our children's children's children.
We need something that's going to work. Yeah, we need so you have a plan? You have okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, basically, we talked about, and I heard Albert say, he was the first person to say about the
Albert Conti, you're talking about.
Yes, Albert Conti. He was the first person.
Okay.
He's not the first person to say it. People have been already saying that. People have been talking about it, been chattering about that. We need something like that in effect. But the problem is that even in home rule, yes, we'll still be able to get that earned income tax. That earned tax wage coming in. But if you're not doing something to better the city and you're still only getting that amount of funding, it's still going to be in the same position that it is right now.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to attract businesses. And I'm going to tell you how you do that. You have to get the mom and pop businesses, the small businesses, because it's a smaller city. And you know what? Nobody benefits from the major job people coming in. You need them little small businesses to come together. And you know what I used to hear, and I joke with my buddy. My buddy's from Israel. And he has one of the biggest hearts that you will ever see in the world. And I joke with him and I tell him, man, you're giving your people a bad name. He said, what do you mean? I said, you guys are supposed to be stingy. And I joke with him about that. But you know why they say that about the Jewish people? And it's not being stingy, it's being smart. They are such businessmen, because I went to Miami. And when I get to Miami, they have plazas. And Jewish people only buy from Jewish stores. They only shop from Jewish clothing stores. So if a Jewish guy has a bar and another Jewish guy has an ice store, he buys the ice from him. In turn, he comes over and buys alcohol from his bar. They circulate the money. We got to learn how to do that in the city. We got to have businesses here to keep the money inside the city that's going to make the revenue bigger here and kind of circulate it around. But in order to do that, we got to pat each other on the back as far as why the mom and pop businesses that open up here, the people inside our cities always crying, we don't have no businesses here. But when somebody opens up, they don't back them up. Guess what? One of the Flora brothers, he opened up the winery in Newcastle.
Denny?
And I thought, yes. And I thought, guess what? That is a major move to open up a business here in Newcastle right now. And he took a chance on it. And we know what we got to do in turn? I don't drink wine. I don't drink wine. But we got to back him up anyway.
Yeah, you got to go buy some ball.
We got to buy stuff. Even if I don't drink it, I'll buy and give it to somebody else. We got to back him up to blow his business up.
Let's plug. He used to own 26 too, right? Is that the one? Yeah. We should. What's the name of that winery? I can't remember the name of that winery, but I know what you're talking about. So they just opened up like a little shop on the east side, right?
Yes, him and his wife did, man. And guess what? We need
more of that. We need more Denny Flores.
As a community, we need to back him up and say, guess what? This is what we need here, and keep pushing forward. And once we do that, then somebody else open the business up, and he in turn will back them up. And if we keep doing this, excuse me, we are scratching each other's backs.
Yeah. I think what you're trying to say is that a community supports communities. Now, it's not necessarily a race or religion.
No. I just use that for an example.
Yeah. No, to clarify there, it's not, because I support, I don't care what anybody is, but I'd rather go to a business in Newcastle because it's Newcastle. And I'll tell you what else is when there's some companies. Mangino's is in Florida, Naples, Florida, and anybody from Naples, Florida, when they call me, I automatically give them whatever I can. And I say, hey, look, I'm going to give you $20 off. I do this all the time. Anybody that calls in from Naples, Florida. When I was selling auto parts, like just on a phone, I would say, hey, listen, I don't care how much these parts cost. I'll give it to you for free. You need to go and you need to try Mangino's pizza. So yeah, it's definitely something, a community needs to support each other. And that's an absolute great underlined statement.
Yes.
There.
Mangino's, that's what I can say for dinner.
I'm sorry. I haven't eaten yet. I've been taking tests all day. All right. So that is, so that's what your day is going to look like. That's why we do only 5 questions. That's all we have time for. So let me ask you, we kind of touched on this. What groups do you plan on? What groups do you kind of gravitate towards more than anybody else?
I'm looking into we want to promote the LCEDC, that's the Lawrence County Economic Development, and the Department of Chamber of Commerce, because we got to highlight these organizations, these civic organizations, because they can show us some things that our cities possess that we're not using. So we want to push them so they can help us to find out the different things that we possess that we're not taking, we're not using right now.
But Venti Sai is the name of the winery, is what people were trying to tell us, by the way. So that said, yeah, I mean, you know, I think that one of the biggest things is everybody's promoting business and business incubators like the Chamber of Commerce. There's another one, Lawrence County. I believe it's Lawrence County Business Young Professionals, something like that.
Oh yeah. Dave Young,
a lot of people.
and there's a few people who and Robert Lyles and them guys. They're big time advocates, and it's another it's a newer group that they're and it's just, these are things that we need for our city, man, to better us. We gotta. The Bible says promote each other to good works.
Right.
That's what we have to do. We have to promote each people to good works.
Yeah, there's so many.
The problem with people is, though, I've noticed, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but the problem with people is that they don't want to see somebody else flourish. I've never understood that about people. They don't want to see somebody else do good. We should want to see our neighbor do good, because in turn, it's going to look good on us.
Yeah. Everybody wins. You know, think about real estate. You know, if my house, if I build a $2 million home on properties that are $300,000, I just raised the income up of the block.
The property value.
You know, so that's something, you know, working with developers, that's something they understand. And that's something we have to understand too, with attitude. Right. So if I have a good attitude, it should be affecting people. Right. Yeah. You know, when the mayor has a good attitude, it should be affecting people. People should have a good attitude. You know, like I said, I like to think of the mayor as maybe a quarterback or head coach of a team. And, you know, realistically, we've got to have somebody that we can really put some faith behind, and someone say, well, that's our guy. So biggest 3 changes if you win, or when you win, what are going to be your biggest 3 changes?
Well, for one thing, like we're exiting, we're going to be exiting Act 47. I do want to adopt the home rule charter. That's something that we're going to need, is to adopt a home rule charter. Also, we need something that's going to promote our children, because you know what my mother used to say to us when we were younger: an idle mind is a devil's workshop. I created a group called Positive Youth on Facebook about 2.5 years ago. And the reason why I did, because I got so sick of seeing when kids, if they do something wrong, they get bashed on social media, they get bashed in the newspaper, they get bashed at school, and people really hammer them. And everybody knows their name.
Right.
Now, the people who don't do anything, nobody knows who they are. The good kids.
Right.
Who don't get in trouble, who get good grades, who's getting scholarships and doing positive things. How come we're not promoting these people? So we got to pat them on the back and show them how proud we are of them. And we got to promote them to good works, because when we promote them to good works, if we don't promote them, guess what? The streets want to pat them on the back in their kind of way. And we don't want that to happen. So one of the things I want to do is create something here for the children. And I'm not talking about a once a year thing. I'm talking about something that's going to go on, that's going to captivate their attention, to keep them active, instead of allowing them to sit back and become idle and sit back and think of negative things to do. And we have to do that. So we're going to have to bring mom and pop businesses here. Without a doubt, we're going to have to do this in order for our city to flourish.
So what do you propose?
Excuse me. I was talking to a young man, David Ward. And I was saying to him, you know what we need? And I'm not just talking about a youth advocate program. I told him the city needs to have a youth-based program that anybody can go down to the foundation. But guess what? Everybody doesn't have the money for the foundation. We had Sankey Center when we was growing up because a lot of us couldn't afford the YMCA. So there was a Sankey Center, and guess what? When Sankey Center was open, it kept a lot of children off the streets. We needed to devise something that's going to keep the kids off the street, to keep them active, to keep them moving forward, to keep them entertained, and make them be positive. Promote them to good works.
And so you plan to develop more youth centers around town. Okay, I dig it.
And I'm talking about it's going to be I'm talking about they don't have to pay. It's funded nonprofit. It's got to be funded nonprofit because a lot of these kids can't come in their pockets and pay to go. That's why a lot of them don't do it. That's why a lot of them hang on the street corners because they can't go to the YMCA.
You know, honestly, when I used to work with inmates in Indiana, basically rehabilitation. We basically how do I put this? We re-educate people. Because I'll tell you the first thing I tell them, and I'll get back into my question. But the first thing I tell them is, you know, what we train sales trainings, right? And so I say, well, everybody, what's one thing everybody says about an inmate? And I ran down this list, and then I just scratched out inmate and I wrote salesman, and it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. But it's all about confidence with people, and you know, especially with children and getting involved in that life. That's a real thing. That's a real thing. Yes. So where, you know, a 13, it never used to be, you know, before. Even inside the criminal element, you know, recruiting, you know, 10-year-olds was just a huge taboo subject. Nowadays, it's like 9, 8. You know, there people are prepping. There's real people out there that are prepping, you know, very small children to live a life of crime, like almost re-education. And that's a real problem. And that comes with, and that there's some people that are going to be so much harder to save, right? There's some people that are going to be so much harder to pull out of that because they were, it's now it's not only just an attitude, it's ingrained, right? So, you know, we've got a Facebook user question, and this is a really interesting question because we talk about criminal enterprise being our town being overrun with criminal enterprise, not from any one particular location, but just in general. Let me just disclaim that we don't, you know, we don't have I don't know,
right,
you know, where they're coming from, but you know, I know they say, you know, you always see in the paper Detroit, but those people, you know, a lot of those people even being said they're from Detroit aren't necessarily even from that area. Or from you know, areas around, you know, Cleveland's just as bad for coming here. New York's right on 80. There's all kinds of, and southern states too, to speak of, which is where I came from. But you know, what do you plan to do? How do you plan to resolve, not necessarily resolve, but thwart the criminal element that's going on here? How do you plan to stop, or you get the question?
There's two ways to cut back on that. Number one is you have to have a community that's willing to talk. Listen, people all the time out here in the streets, they won't say nothing. When something happens, nobody says nothing. You could see it happen. They won't say nothing. So, I mean, people get away with crimes because folks are not saying nothing. But the biggest thing is that we need a bigger police presence. We need more police officers on the street. When's the last time you've seen a police officer actually walking the beat?
I've never.
Okay.
Never.
So we need a bigger police presence like there used to be back in the day. We need them to get out and be active in the community. And I'm not just talking about in the daytime or in the afternoons. I'm talking about all night. I have some of them out walking. You can walk the dogs and stuff. Police presence is going to cut down on a lot of this crime. And also, like you said, there's people here from everywhere. I work at the Newcastle Police Department. I'm the central booking administrator down there, which means that I process everybody from every police department in Lawrence County. So one of the questions that I asked them when I'm putting their information in is, were you born in Pennsylvania? I had a guy say to me, no, I'm from California. And I started to beating around the bush. I said, oh, you got family here? He said, no. I waited for a minute. And I said, or did you meet a girl or something that you came here?
Yeah, what are you doing
said,
here,
no.
man?
I said, okay. I said, listen, dude, this is my words to him. I said, dude, I'm not beating around the bush no more. How did you get in Newcastle? We're not on nobody's road map nowhere. How did you get here? You know what he said? Honestly, I don't even know how I got here. That's what he said to me. There's people here from everywhere. And back when Hurricane Katrina happened, a lot of them folks came up here and they sent them up here. But why they got to send us the worst ones? They could have sent us some good people.
Oh, no.
They could have sent us some hard-working individuals. But all the ones they sent up here was people who were going to jail and selling drugs. And I mean, come on. Not everybody from Detroit is a bad person. Right. I know a lot of people who come to Detroit are good people. But guess what? There is and those ones that do come here and do that, they give them a bad name. I never understood why, and this is one of my things that I say all the time. I never understood why, if a person comes to the city and you know without a doubt they're only there because they're selling drugs, the minute that they get arrested, why can't they put on some type of defiant trespass that they're not allowed back in that city? And if they come here, if they just drive through, it's a felony. Why is that not so? I don't understand it.
It's a constitutional right to go anywhere you want in the United States.
Well, but okay, if that's the same thing, then how come they're not allowed in Walmart if they steal something from Walmart?
Walmart's
it's on a defiant trespass.
Well, no, it's considered private property, so Walmart owns that, and that's why you wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. But yeah, those are really good. Those are really good ideas inside of getting. You hate to say it, but you almost want to offer a reward where leading to an arrest. You almost want to put more money. It almost seems like we would spend less money on police work than we would, offering rewards to people that can provide information rather than.
Well, they do that sometimes.
They do. What about I know they offer packages for people for informants as well, right? Yeah.
But that's something that's something narcotics deals with. I don't have no knowledge of what they do back there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even begin there to pretend like I know what they do, and I don't want to know what they do.
Yeah.
Their job is unbelievable, man. And you know what? I give them guys mad props. I give our police department mad props. Yeah. They do a great job. Oh, other thing that I wanted to touch base on that I didn't say, as far as you said something that another thing I wanted to do here. A lot of homes every year are lost for taxes. They get when the city owns these taxes, they take the taxes, they take the houses and they put them up for sale. And they sell some of these houses for $3,000, $4,000, $5,000.
Right.
These free people and clear from stuff. Everywhere else that's not from here, they buy those houses and they rent them out to people. And if the house don't rent, it sits there. Why can't the city take these houses and have some local contractors rebuild the house and then they rent them out? Why wouldn't they be able to do that? Because the house is 100% profit.
You and Albert Conti share the same thought on that. His idea was actually to bond the houses. So if they can't keep up a certain aesthetic, right, give them to the local contractors. And if they can't keep up a certain aesthetic, then take the house back and fix it up themselves and do just what you said. So that's definitely, you're right on the track. I mean, that is a contractor mind right there. And that's a good thought. That you have a great thought on that.
The thing is, man, listen, if I mean, and then we give the jobs to local contractors.
Right.
And if we give them the local contractors, we create more jobs for the people inside the city.
Yeah, and again, what that goes back to what you were saying about, you know, those small businesses. A local contractor is a small business. It's the smallest shoestring business you can start. Yes. And you know, the best business you can start with little to no money, other than, you know, obviously being licensed, bonded, and insured. So those things are great. Those are some great ideas. Definitely. What's your strategy? What's your strategy for getting out of Act 47?
Like I said, that we were to get out of Act 47, and they say that we're going to have a 3-year extension. That'll be nice, but guess what? We're still going to have to exit Act 47.
Yeah, and we're still going to lose that money.
Correct, and that's about $3 million a year. So we have to have a strategy, and the strategy would have to be, the only thing you can do is home rule, because you don't want to go into receivership.
Yeah.
You go to receivership, man, and the people who work for the city, they lose their pension, they lose everything, and it's not fair to them. You got people who've been on work for the city for years, and they're ready to retire, and if we would go into receivership, they would lose all that.
Yeah,
how terrible would that be?
Yeah, absolutely. It would just be a nightmare. So is that an ultimatum? I wasn't aware of that. Is that when they, in 3 years after the extension, do they say, you know, okay, so you've got an option, you go into receivership or home rule? Is that what's going on there? Educate me on that.
You don't have to, but if you don't, then you're gonna have to do something. There may be some other alternatives out there, but I'm not seeing them now. Nobody else is talking about them. I don't see anything on paper.
Is it?
So go ahead. You're going to have to make some type of decision, and you don't. I mean, that's the last thing that you want to do is go into receivership.
Yeah. I think that's the number one thing. And again, that's why it's so essential that you vote. This is such a big year for that. You know, potentially staying the course could bring us into receivership if nothing's being done. That's going to be.
I wanted to say, man, that was a great question that they asked about the crime and the shooting, because it's it's something that we grew up with. It wasn't around here.
No.
And then it just got unbelievably out of control. I am like getting ready to go out now.
Oh, okay.
But
okay.
Yeah, I have to hit the streets.
All right. Jamie Holmes hitting the streets, coming to talk to you. You hear that big pound on the door. That's Jamie Holmes. Hey man, thank you so much for spending the time with me. I really appreciate it. Good luck and stay safe out there. And you know, I wish you the best in this coming election. I think this was a great interview. I think we had a lot of fun.
Thank you. Yes, sir. And maybe one day you can do a ride along with me.
I would do that. I will do that. And we can do it live. We can do a ride along live. Okay.
No problem with that at all.
100%. We'll do that. No matter what happens, we'll do it. All right. Thank you so much. You take care. Good luck.
Hey, God bless you and have a great day.
Take care. Thank you. Bye. Hey.